Good morning, everybody. Um, it's Monday, another day, another week. Today's topic is going to be a little bit more somber for multiple reasons. Um, and notice it's not a discussion about the meaning of the word church and all that stuff. Like I keep saying, the modern representation of what people consider the church has become a problem. Um, because people now see church as an event, as a how's the best way to entertainment venue. And I unfortunately keep seeing more and more places where this has become the normal to get people to come and supposedly meet God, but they're not really encountering him. What they're encountering is a form of entertainment that has the name God attached to it. Now, I know not all believers um, have this particular approach, but what the world sees as the church has become so disjointed from the head that I can't call it the church. It's now a building, or it's recognized by the notoriety of the pastor, or it's known for its music, but it's not known for its preaching of God. It's known for acceptance. It's known as a by its color, a white church, a black church, a Hispanic church, but it's not known by its creator. And I think that is a reflection of the individual's personal walk in these locations. Um, the and again, he didn't build his church on Peter. He built it on the confession of Peter, not Peter, the confession of Peter of who Christ was. It was not built on Peter. That's a Catholic crap, and it does not apply to anywhere in the book. Never said that he built his church on Peter, like at all. He asked Peter, "Who do people say I am?" Peter said who he was. And Jesus said, "I say you are Peter. The same way you can tell me who I am and know it, I know who you are. You are Peter. And upon the rock of your confession of who I am, I will build my church." Not on Peter. The only person that Christ ever built anything on was the confession of who he was. In other words, he built it on himself, not on Peter. That is a Catholic lie from the pits of hell, and that will never, ever, ever stand the test of time. They needed a man to hinge their bets on, to put to people the merits of having a man at the head. That's what the Catholic faith did. That's why they're not Christian. Catholics are not Christian. I don't care if you want to believe that you are not. You are not following anything to do with Christ. You're following a man in a Dagon statue costume. That's all you're doing. You should probably learn the history of the thing you so called follow. No, you are not a Christian. You're a Catholic. That's pretty obvious. You're a Catholic, but you're nothing else after that. You follow a man in a hedonistic costume, sitting worshiping Satan. That's all it is. But the church is an internalized thing that happens to an individual. The gathering of saints that have a true understanding of who Jesus is create the church. It's not a building, it doesn't have a title, doesn't have a name, it just is. I think far too many have taken the word church and it has become a location, an act, a performance, and a category. The unfortunate thing is that the world sees it and they condemn the church. They condemn the church. And it's not their fault. It's the people that consider themselves believers that give them this idea. It gives them that idea. What they stop doing is teaching anything to do with the head, and they teach everything to do with results of people. For instance, the modern church now preaches the acceptance of every lifestyle because God loves. It's not biblical, nor is it exemplary of what the life of Christ includes. Because, like we keep saying here, your life in Christ is not yours, which means you cannot bring what you used to do and apply it to the walk you have in Christ. It's not possible. It is impossible for you to come to Christ and try to maintain what you were before currently. It cannot happen. They cannot coexist. The you grew up knowing, the person you became, all of that goes completely away when you've picked up the life of Christ. Because in his life, it doesn't have your history, it doesn't have your personality, it doesn't have your worry, it doesn't have your trauma, it doesn't have any of that. It may understand it, but it doesn't possess any of the traits of it. But the modern church wants you to bring all your trauma and have you perpetuated in your walk. The new man idea is no longer a thing. No longer a thing. The new man has gone completely away in the modern church. You don't have to become a new man. The as you are doctrine is now taken over. Now, he said specifically, if anybody preaches a different gospel, let him be accursed. But nobody seems to be seeing that this is a brand new gospel. Modern churches, modern ones, are a new gospel. They will not preach the crucifixion of Christ to the end that it was about. They will proclaim the damage that was done to his body in short form. But then they will speak about his love in long form, completely outside of the result of his love. Completely outside of the result of what his love does, they will preach his love. That is not the church. In any way, shape, form, or fashion. First Corinthians 3:16. Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him, for the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. In other words, if you say that you are a follower, a child, a new creature in Christ, holding on to your old, defiled ways will get you destroyed. That is a defiling of his holy temple. The modern church preaches doing just that and calls it Christianity. How do we know this is true? Okay. I can be a gay pastor. Let that one sink in for a minute. You can be a gay elder. Heck, you can have multiple wives or side chicks and be a pastor. You can have multiple children by multiple women and never married to any of them and decide you're a pastor. You could be a former gangbanger and still have all the affiliations with the gang and still be a pastor. You could hate everyone on earth and still be a pastor. The unfortunate thing that this is not the church. That's not the church. The purpose of the church is to exemplify to people who are not a part of it a reason to be a part of it, which means we ought to show them the error of their way. That's not judging them the way the world considers judging. And even if it is by the world standards, we encountered that same measure in order to be where we were. We had to encounter that measure of judgment to be where we are. So, by all intents and purposes, we can indeed judge. It says, don't judge, lest ye be judged, for by the same measure you use, it will be used to you. That's what it actually says. It didn't say, don't judge. It's not biblical. If you are fine with the same measure being used, judge on. Even if you're not content with it, it's going to be used. So you telling me not to judge is inconsequential to me because I've already weighed it. I was measured against the same principle. I came up lacking and I realized what needed to be done. Now, if I say I am a member of God's church, Christ's church, and the only way for me to enter is to see the error, see my position before Him, turn, whether or not I was mad, whether or not it upset me, whether or not it hurt, I had to see my position as I was before the ever living God. Whether that was done nicely or mean, I had to get to a place where I saw it. I cannot be a member of his body if I'm not willing to accept the blood. Let's take this to a different level here. If I'm waiting on a transplant, say a heart, they don't just pick some random, busted decrepit, worse heart than the one I have and replace it. Nor do they take one that's exactly the same and put it in me. They don't even take a good one with a different blood type and put it in me. There are certain things that have to be in order for it to function. I cannot enter a new body if I don't have complete assimilation with it. It's not going to happen. Certain things have to be in order. What we want to do is graft a broken heart, different blood, and assume it's going to work just fine. Some of us even think we are the body grafting in a different heart. In either case, if they're not compatible, one doesn't come to the other as the other one, it's not going to work. In this case, in this case, when you are grafted to God's body, everything about you changes. You are now listening to what his mind tells you to do. You don't come in acting like the hand you were before. You are now functioning off of the neurons firing, the nerves firing, the signals firing to you because you're attached to the body now. You're not going to be doing what you want to do. You're doing what he tells you to do. You don't come with your own agenda. You're a hand. You're not a mind. You're not the brain. You're a hand. They all follow the head. Our problem is we want to be the head. The new church has become the head. Which is why it's not difficult for many pastors and preachers to be the way they are. They are quite content to be the way they are because that's normal. I am who God called. He called me because of what I can do. He knew my passion, so he called me to do it. So let me ask, what was the passion of the disciples? Was their passion one for going out to preach anything? Is that why he recruited them, those fishermen? Because of their passion? If I remember correctly, they were just fishing. And he walked up. I'm going to make you fishers of men. I am going to make you. I am going to make you fishers of men. Not because you want to be fishers of men, I'll make you fishers of men. No, I will make you. See, what we want is for God to work with us. Work with us, man. Work with us. Let's listen to what he actually said, okay? Because I think people need to understand something here. Now, these are men that changed the world, okay? These are men that radicalized the world. Today, they are known. These were simple fishermen. Very simple. And Jesus was, this is in Matthew, by the way, Matthew 4:18. And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Then he said, this is all, I just listen carefully, because people somehow think that when you are called to do something for God, there are all kinds of things that have to happen first. He said to them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. They immediately left their nets and followed him. Going from there, he saw two other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, in a boat with Zebedee, their father, mending their nets. He called to them, not the father, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. When you have a true encounter with Jesus, the life you know, the life you're familiar with, the things you used to do, the person you were no longer holds you. It is an automatic relinquishing of all that you know. What did Simon, John, any of them know about fishing for men? And what did you mean by what exactly are you talking about, Jesus? Who are you? First of all, how you going to just walk up on me and just tell me, yo, let's go? Not only that, leave what you're doing, what you've been doing for however long, and let's go. Like what? You with your pops? Get out that boat. We heading out. What? But Jesus, listen, whoa, 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 hang on. I have to make sure pops is okay first. Let me finish doing what I'm doing here. I gotta finish this net. Then we'll talk about whether or not this is something I can do. I mean, I don't know if I have the skills for this. Do I need to go to seminary for this? What? I gotta take care of that. I got this. Oh, look how much stuff I still gotta do, bro. I'm in the middle of fishing. This is my livelihood here. Today's church, and I use that term loosely, wants to have it like this. Jesus walks up, sees them. Hey, can I join your fishing? I mean, I know a thing or two about fish, so I can probably help you out. Man, you guys are good. I could really use some fishermen. I tell you what, since you guys are so good at fishing, I'm going to use your ability to fish for what I want. I'm not telling you to stop fishing. You don't need to stop. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm just going to use it for my benefit. That's what we want today. That's the modern church. That's the modern church. They want God to work with them, not them relinquish for God. They want God to do the adjusting. The modern church has zero regard for the person, the deity, the glory of God. They want the glory. Come to this church. Not come to Christ, come to this church. Come be a member at this church. Here's a form, fill that out, sign up. The church would meet in homes. They gathered for the purpose of encouraging each other to continue through persecution, to remind each other of whose they were. They didn't come together to remind each other of what doctrine they follow. They didn't come together to remind each other of rituals. They came together having gone through their whole week encountering the relationship in their spirit with Christ. And they came together to solidify that with each other, which is why each could bring something, a word, a testimony, a prophecy. They could all bring something, and not one of them would be more than the other, because each had their own relationship. One would bring something for someone else, for the whole, and not consider themselves so valuable that they had to be head honcho. Even Paul, even Peter, even John, none of them considered themselves so high above everyone else. Even though they knew their calling, they did not consider themselves the way modern preachers consider themselves. They knew who they were. They knew who God made them, and they paid homage for who they were to God. They never brought attention to themselves. They never pointed a finger at who they were. In fact, they would tell you, I was a chief among sinners, and he still came for me. Today, preachers will preach about ways to try and avoid change. They will come and speak to you from the pulpit telling you that I wish God had a different way of doing things. I don't wish God had a different way of doing anything. I don't look, if he had a different way, he'd have done it. The last thing I need to be doing is wishing God had a different way to approach his own way. That is the stupidest thing ever. To even have that utter out of your mouth is asinine. And mean it. Like to say, oh, I wish God had some way different of doing this, but he doesn't. Why do you wish God had a different way? You don't trust his way? Or you just prefer to have a way to be able to be who you were and still be accepted as a new creation? That'd be the only reason I can see you wishing for a new way, a different way, an alternate way. We don't like being the second fiddle. We don't like being inconsequential. Heck, we don't like our opinion not mattering. We hate that. We have to feel as though what we bring to the table matters more than the next person. We ignore the whole verse of he must increase and I must decrease. He must become more, I must become less. We ignore that. And we want to become more. So he can use me more. If I am more, he can use me more. No, if you are less, he can use you more. The less of you there is means the more of him there is. And the more of him there is, the more he can accomplish. Because he knows what he's got to do. You don't. He may give you some inclination of what he has planned, but he don't got to tell you everything. In fact, I would dare say that's the whole point of trust. That I don't have to know. I don't have to know. Don't have to know. Every purpose of God is God's purpose. Why Judas, how Judas is inconsequential to me because Judas. I say that for this reason. I think many can get bogged down in the why and refuse to see the result. And in doing the questioning of how and why God allowed what he allowed, I look at it the same way as I do Pharaoh. People tell you that, well, God hardened Pharaoh's heart. The heart of Pharaoh never once was turned to God. Not once. When Pharaoh made his decision, the only thing God did was remove any chance of him changing his mind. You know, the whole giving over to a reprobate mind thing? If you don't want, if that's what you want, have it. Now, just remember, if I hand you over, that's it. I'm not even going to give you a chance. Now, who has the right to do that? He does. What about Seven? He has the right to withhold anything he wants from anyone because it's his to offer. The same way that if he knows the heart of Judas, I'm going to use this for my purpose. Regardless of how he got in with the 12 to make 13, 14, whatever number it was, regardless of his role while there as the treasurer and the money man, whether he stole or didn't steal, he knew his heart. He knew whether or not Judas made up his mind to turn him in to the authorities or not. And the only person that can judge what happened to Judas is God. Judas served a purpose the same way Pharaoh served a purpose. The entrapment of his people by Pharaoh was given that way because Israel was rebellious, and he allowed them to fall into captivity. By his own love, he saved them, and by his own justice, he ended Pharaoh. By his love, he allowed Judas to do what he had to do in order to save the soul of man. Judas made the decision. He chose money after having walked with Christ. He chose money. As regretful as he might have been and committed suicide, that's inconsequential to his decision to do what he did. The only person that has any right to decide whether or not Judas should have been or should not have been used is God. And how it happened because God. sometimes we're afraid to just let that be. Like we have to have an answer for everything. No, because God said it. That's all I need to know. I don't care why he said it. I don't care his reasonings for saying it. I don't care. If he say no, it's no. There is a discernment that has to happen with God's people. There is a discernment that has to happen with God's people. And when we don't have that discernment, we will go and hang out with just about anything. We'll go to a gathering of people that they call a church because the music is cool. Or the preacher preaches nice. The people there I really get along with. Um, they're my kind of people. They're all white. They're all black. They're all Hispanic. They speak a certain. That's our reasoning for going. But when we have discernment, we realize that, hey, hang on. I don't sense God in anything that they're doing. And you should feel uncomfortable in that situation. You should not feel, if you are in tune and have given yourself to God, where the Spirit of God is, there's liberty, right? So you should feel freedom, not confinement. And I don't mean freedom to do what you want. I mean your soul, your spirit should feel peace. You will know the unease that you might be feeling. I keep saying, take the unease to the only person that can decipher it. Sometimes you may feel unease because it's actually convicting. Sometimes people consider unease, conviction, and they'll call it, oh, they're just a bunch of judgmental people. I can't be around them. It just feels weird to be there. Why does it feel weird? Because you're getting convicted? And then there's times you go to a place and you feel an overabundance of darkness. It just you get in there and your soul and your spirit is at unease, not because you feel any conviction, but you can feel the oppression of the evil one. The only way you can get that discernment, though, is by knowing what the Spirit of God is like. And the only way you can do that is by you spending time with Him before getting into that environment. I used to work at Amazon and Microsoft and Yahoo. The odd thing is, I couldn't get into Amazon with Yahoo credentials, and I couldn't get into Amazon with Microsoft credentials. If I were to be walking through the halls of the foyer in Microsoft wearing Amazon decals and a badge that says I work at Amazon, and I said to the security guard, I need to get in to check on some things, he will look at me very weird and say, this is Microsoft. And I'll be like, I know. And he'll say, where is your Microsoft badge and apparel? That's your identifier to know that you're supposed to be here. Otherwise, we can't let you in. Well, I didn't think it mattered what I wore. I have paperwork here that says I should be working here. Okay, so do you have a clearance? I didn't think I needed to get clearance because I have a piece of paper that says I should be working at Microsoft. Okay, so you're hoping for me to scan you into every room? Yeah. But I have my job to do. I'm security. I'm not a babysitter. Your job is to go into the most secure areas of Microsoft, and you want me to let you in because you don't have credentials. Yeah, no. Tell you what you can go do. You can go to the head office and go get your credentials and then come back, show me your credentials, scan in, then you can get in. You see, that security guard not only practiced discernment by looking at me and saying, "Now something ain't right," he weighed what I was offering against the policy that he is under. He has protocol that was given to him not by his own decision making, by the head office of Microsoft. Anyone entering our most secure office has to have the apparel, the look, and the clearance, the badges. If they don't have those two, they do not get let in. They can't. There's way too much money, way too much infrastructure in that building for us to just let anybody they want to come in to just get in. It's not possible. But yet still we want to have that idea being pushed in God's body. Do you have the Holy Spirit? Nah. But he's your sign. He's your seal. You don't have him? I didn't think I needed him. So how are you going to get before the throne of God? I was hoping you just let me in. Like what? Okay, let's start with basics. Did you even go to the cross before you got here? Nope. So, so let me get this. You've never been to the cross. You don't possess the Holy Spirit, but you want all the benefits of people who have those two things? Yeah. No. So here's what you can do. You can take yourself directly to the head. He will show you exactly what you don't have, tell you what you do need to do in order to be able to get in here. Because without that, you can't get in here. See what the modern church did is they set up right next to Microsoft another building, and they called the building Microsoft. But they write it in such a way that you think you see a row in there. So you think I'm going into Microsoft. And in Microsoft, you can go in with Amazon, Azon, any credentials you want, and they'll let you in. Because Microsoft has no credential needing whatsoever to get in. But in your mind, you are entering one of the most secure locations on earth. That's the modern church. But there are very few that will go to Microsoft with Microsoft credentials and Microsoft clearance and get into the most secure area of Microsoft where all the power resides. Because they just got denied over at Microsoft, they go to Microsoft. And Microsoft is just as good as Microsoft. It's got the same kind of letters, kind of. I mean, pretty close. But they'll accept me the way I am. I don't need to get anything new. I don't need to change. I just need to go in. In fact, on the entry door, that says, "Come on in." Modern church. The modern church and their criteria is not the church. Because to get into the church, you have to go to the head. And the head requires nothing of the old you. You have to get new credentials, new clothing, You have to go through orientation to know all the ins and outs. You have to agree to the terms and conditions. There is a protocol to follow. And without that, you ain't getting in. Now, you might think you're in, but you're actually over at Microsoft. But it looks kind of the same. You want to know whether or not the place you're attending embodies his church. The only way you can do that is to walk in having his credentials and weigh it against what's being said. And the only way to do that is not becoming a member of the church first, it's becoming a member of his body first. Go through your orientation, realize that you don't have the credentials to stand before the head. The head gives you the credentials to stand before the head. And there are certain things you have to shed so that the head can give you what you need. Many don't want to do that. They like their credentials, they like their outfit, and they feel that you should accept them for what they're wearing, even though it does not match the place that they want to be in. It won't help. In fact, it will confuse more people coming in. They'll walk into this building and think this is Microsoft. And in the lobby, they'll see people from Yahoo, from Bing, from DuckDuckGo, from Google and Amazon, and every facility on earth in the lobby. They'll see that. And they'll say, well, ho. Is this Microsoft? And the security guy will say, well, it's Microsoft. I mean, did you say Microsoft? No, it's Microsoft. I mean, it sounds a little different, but I mean, you got a secure door there, and you're a security guard, and you're the one telling people they can get in. So I guess it's okay. Meanwhile, at Microsoft, they'll say, you say, this Microsoft? Yes, this is Microsoft. And at Microsoft, we do not allow anybody else from any other facility unless they are approved by Microsoft personnel. And you can get as mad as you want. That's Microsoft's policy. That's how they maintain security and safety. That's how they keep the business moving. Microsoft has no security measures, and they don't even care if the facility goes up in flame because they have insurance. And they'll just put up another Microsoft. I mean, you might die in there, but the security guard and everyone else that's ahead of Microsoft, they've already gotten out because they have insurance. You don't know. I would suggest people do this, okay? You want to know whether or not you're being punked. You want to know whether or not the one that you're attending is of God. Get before God. Get before God. You change. You give up. You relinquish. You. You have that option because it's about your walk. The pastor doesn't save you. The facility doesn't save you. The doctrine doesn't save you. Jesus saves you. So if you're looking to find out whether or not salvation that you're offered is reiterated in the place you're going, the only way you can figure that out is to go to the source of salvation. Match with that. And when you go into a place that's not of the same ilk, you will know. Because your badge will not scan there. You know why? There's a certain encoding that happens on that badge. There's a certain encoding on that badge. And you know what else? You can ask certain questions that the other facility will never be able to answer about the one you're supposed to be in. Like, for instance, at Microsoft, I can go and ask them, what is the shutdown protocol for if the colo has a signal loss? What if there's a breach in security at one of the designated safe spots? What if I go into one of the secure areas and there are multiple fiber optic heads unplugged? What do I do? The security guard should know what to do. He may not know how to repair it, but he will know exactly what the protocol is for the facility. You go to the security guard at Microsoft and ask him while knowing what the shutdown security protocols are. And when he doesn't answer correctly, you know you're in the wrong place. But you can't know that if you yourself don't know the shutdown protocol. Then we get that shutdown protocol orientation. Orientation is with the head, not the security guard, with the head. The security guard has to go to the head to get his shutdown security protocol too. You want to know how to know if the place you're going to is the right one. Go to the head. Go to the head. Get your clearance. Get your loadout. Get your pass. Get your outfit. That way, you can go to a facility. Even if the name looks about close, you can tell right away that's not my facility. Security guard could come out all the way, all the way outside and say, "This is blah blah blah," and you're like, "Is it though? Is it? What's this, this, and this?" Well, we don't know. All right, peace. Peace. We out. I'm good. Which is why I keep telling people to go talk to the author, deal with him, deal with him directly. Because you can't know what his wishes are if you don't know what his wishes are. And he'll tell you. He'll make it plain as day so you can compare it to everything else out there to avoid. But the modern church, the way it is right now, the majority of them do not measure themselves against God's way. They measure God's way against themselves. And when God comes up short, they win. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. So is church needed? Yes. Is church needed? No. The church, always necessary. And they will arrange themselves the way the head tells them. The church, unneeded. because it doesn't exist. It is not the church. That's just a gathering of people who want what they want in the way they want it. Make sure you're not going to a church. Make sure you're a part of the church. The body is necessary. The body is the embodiment of the head. It's a reflection. And they will be there regardless of a building or not. Don't have a topic tomorrow. However, I am leaning towards and this got dropped. Maybe it more likely something I'll do, a Q&A kind of setup tomorrow. Um, what I don't have an answer to, I'll say I don't have an answer to that. So I think that's more likely what will happen is a Q&A. And so we'll see how that turns out. It may or may not go more than an hour. It depends on the questions. And we'll kind of play it by ear. So I have to set up that for tomorrow, and we'll have a conversation on the morrow. Don't have anything else for the rest of the week either. Keep the question for tomorrow, and I'll tell you. If you ask it tomorrow, because I will not remember, you have to, bring it up tomorrow, not now. It said tomorrow is the Q&A, not today. Tomorrow Q&A. Tomorrow. Yeah, all questions. If I can't answer it, I'll say I can't answer that. If I can, I will. It's that easy. I mean, I'm never going to say I have all the answers because that's not intelligent to say. But what I do have answers to, I'll give. If it's written in the book, I can give it to you. If it's not answered in the book, I'll give you that answer too. So bring your questions. I also reserve the right to answer whatever questions I feel I can ask, breach. If I don't feel like answering a question or even bringing it up, I won't, but I reserve that right. Don't judge me for it. It's just my decision. Okay? Okay. As long as we're good with that, we're good. The Savage Patriots will be on today. We'll be breaking down the this convention that Africa and Russia had. Scrolling below is the options for supporting what I'm doing here. Again, yeah, you would think, right, after all these years, you'd think I'd know everything. Well, now you know I don't know everything, so now you know more than me. So there you go. Works out pretty good. I know you're joking, Kristen. I know. Oh, there's hardly anybody that wants to come debate, unfortunately. I've tried. I have tried opening the floor for debate, and then they don't show up. So I've stopped offering that on this channel. They don't want to come talk. I'm not saying it's because I'm right. I'm just saying they just don't want to come have a debate or discussion. So I've had only 2 so far, I think. And both are atheists. And it turned out pretty good. If you guys want to go see those, they're on the channel. Neither one got heated. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen, Chris. That's been offered and that's been denied. So no, that won't happen. So anyway, scrolling below, options. If you guys want to mail anything, the address is this. So P.O. Box, it's going to be up at the end of this month. And if it's not going to get used, then I'll just shut it down. And that's, it takes a bit to keep it up. So I'm not going to keep it up if it's not going to get anything to it. So I had opened it because people said they wanted to have a different option than the PayPal and stuff. So I don't want to just keep it open just because. I need to be sure that, even if it's just letters, that's fine. I just need to know that's going to be used. But it hasn't really been. So I'm going to probably, depending on how the rest of the month goes, I might just shut it down. So we'll see. In any case, your options are there. We'll catch up tomorrow with the Q&A. And we'll see you guys on. Oh, and Too Strong is on tonight. We will be talking about the Alabama altercation and subsequent meme farm that it has become. I have a whole different take on it that people may or may not like, but as usual, don't care. It is my take on it, and people's opinion of it will not affect my opinion of it because I've thought about it as usual. But you probably will be getting mad at me because of what I have to say. It depends. But we'll be on tonight, 8:00 Eastern, to talk about that Alabama brawl. We'll be on Savage Patriots at 6:30. So, all right. We'll catch up in a few hours. Until then, y'all have a grand rest of the day. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself.